What's up, y'all? Hope y'all doing good, and welcome to my social media book tour for my book, Darkness. Now, to tell you a little bit about this book, I'm going to tell you a little bit about this book, and then I'm going to do a little reading from this book. So, to give you a little behind the scenes about Darkness, Darkness is a story that I came up with the initial idea for this story back in November of no back in November of 2024. I came up with this idea as I was working on a different story at that time. And it's really a story. This is a story that really came to me um out of just it was just it kind of was circling in my head. And it was about it was about 12:30, 1 o'clock at night, and I was like halfway asleep. Just finished watching the Tonight Show, getting ready to watch Seth Meyers, Late Night with Seth Meyers. He was getting ready to do his a closer look. I like watching that. I like watching. I try to stay up for all of Seth Meyers, but sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm like way too tired to make it past that episode. So usually I'll get like up to whatever the monologue, and then whatever the first segment is, whether it's a closer look or something else. Sometimes I'll stay up a little bit later to watch more of Late Night with Seth Meyers, depending on who the guests are. Anyway, so as I'm watching Seth Meyers, this idea for this story came into my head, and I was closer to my MacBook was far enough away where I didn't want to get out of bed to grab it, and it was also charging, and my iPad was a little bit close enough where I could stay in bed, just grab it. So I grabbed the iPad. I didn't want to grab the phone because the phone was charging for the night, so I just grabbed the iPad, opened up the notes, and I just started typing. And I kind of just wrote out like the idea. I wrote out the idea by just I added this part this about this guy who had already killed himself, and he and a best friend is watching late night TV, getting ready to go to sleep when she gets a call from her best friend's wife. And I already have all the names picked out already. So it was Sally calling Katie is Chris's best friend, and she gets on the phone and says it's Chris, and she asks what about Chris, and she says that he killed himself. And that was it. That was it. I had the whole dialogue for it, and then that was it. And then after that was as much as the writing of the dialogue I had, and it was just to really get the ball rolling on that. And this was November of 2024, and I wrote out that I wanted to do this in three parts. So the first part was going to be Katie's point of view of things, Sally's point of view of things, and then Chris's point of view. And the point of it was all leading to the same part, all leading to the exact same moment when Chris kills himself. And I wanted to tell the story from those people's point of view, and tell their life and how they all met Chris, and how Chris met them, and how life intertwines with them as the best friend, as the girlfriend that eventually becomes the wife, and then telling the story of after the fact as well. So after Chris kills himself. So you go into the beginning of this book, within at least just in the introduction of this book alone, knowing that Chris has killed himself. But the story is not that he killed himself. The story is why he killed himself, and the 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 darkness that he battles, and how this darkness found him, and how long he's battled it, and the help that people are trying to offer him, and how he does this himself, and how it all leads to the moment he kills himself, and even how he kills himself, and then how it affects, and then after he does it, how it affects the people in his life. Because when you kill yourself, from your point of view, when you're killing yourself, you do it to stop whatever pain you're feeling, whatever physical or mental pain you are feeling. And when you do that, you do tend to forget that the people in your life, the people that you are hurting when you do that, and how they're the ones that are left with this pain and heartbreak over a thing you did. And I wanted to be able to tell this story about Chris and the people in his life, and about how they were in his life, and how Chris, no matter how hard Chris tried to have this life after these things in his life prior to meeting these people happened that caused his darkness, he tried very hard his own way to fight this darkness, to live a life that was filled with love and happiness, and being with the woman that he loves, and eventually losing that battle, and telling that story from Chris's point all the way to the end for him, and then continuing on to tell the story of after the fact, about how people in Chris's life felt, the two most important people in Chris's life, and how they felt after Chris killed himself, and the two letters that he leaves, and then actually reading those letters and hearing those last thoughts from what he said to Katie, and then the letter that he read to the letter that he wrote to his wife Sally, and it was an important story for me that I wanted to write and tell, because I am someone who almost did that. I was in a very hard spot in my life where I was fighting my own darkness, and I almost did it. I didn't do it the same way that I had Chris do it, but I almost did it, and I am glad I didn't do it. I'm glad that I had people in my life that, even though at times it doesn't feel like they do, they actually do care about me, and they helped me to get the help I needed, and I'm still here. And I wanted to write that, and I wanted to write a story about a character who had all of those things. He had people in his life that cared about him, that loved him, that wanted him to be okay, that wanted him to be happy, and even through it, sometimes you don't win your battles. You don't beat your darkness. And that is the case for Chris. And I wanted to be able to tell that story, and tell this story about Chris, and then the people in his life, and then what happens even after the fact. And I also wanted to leave that message that you don't need to be like Chris, that it's okay not to be okay, and that it's never a bad thing or a weak thing to ask for help. And there is a 1-800 number that you can call if you don't have anybody in your life to talk to. There is that 1-800 number that you can call, and there are people that are listening, who are ready to listen, who are ready to help. So I wanted to, before this social media book tour ends, I wanted to read a little something from this book. What I wanted to read is a little something that Chris wrote because he was having a hard time sleeping, and there was something in his mind fighting to get out. And so that is what I am going to read. There was so much more Chris wanted to tell Sally when it came to witnessing the death of his friend Sam. But that was something Chris was keeping for himself, something he wasn't ready to speak out loud about. Later that night, Sally slept over at Chris's apartment. As Sally was sleeping, Chris couldn't sleep. There was something fighting to get out of his mind. Chris got out of bed, grabbed his notebook and a pen, sat on the couch, and wrote what was fighting to get out of his mind. There's a woman I can't get out of my head. Her hair is long and black, her eyes are brown, and her skin is soft and brown. When I close my eyes, I see only her. When I wake up, I think of her and wonder when I will see her again. When I see her, I understand my place in the world, and the darkness I battle turns into light, but only when she is near. I love this woman. I want my life to be with this woman. But how can I have a life with her when darkness threatens to take it all away? And this has been my social media book tour for my book, Darkness. I am Anthony K. Thomas. I appreciate all of you for watching, for listening to this, for listening to my social media book tour. Once again, I just want to throw out that it's okay not to be okay. And it's never a bad thing or a weak thing to ask for help. And also that with billions of people in the world, we are all going through something that we know nothing about. And as Robin Williams says something like that, and he would end that quote by saying, "Be kind, always." So I hope all you have a good, fun, and safe day. Don't forget to take care of yourselves, and I will see you all on the next one. Peace, y'all.